everyone. It is so nice to be seen. I love doing these interviews. Obviously, we keep doing them. We got great people to talk to, and this is in regards to our EP mixer that's happening in Las Vegas on Thursday, April 11th, from 6 to 10 p.m. at the SG Bar. We have one of our esteemed sponsors here. He's been part of it for a long time, and also Mike's been a friend for better part of 20 years or something like that. So please, let's say hello to Mike Julian. Mike, thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
Greg, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah, well, you're fantastic for doing this. I always appreciate the sponsorship. I appreciate the conversations that you and I have had. And before I get any further, for those of you who are listening that somehow don't know, Mike Julian is the founder of A.L.I.V.E Active Shooter Survival Training that is now, and I'm going to let him talk about it, but I want to tell the stats, that is now in 6 countries and you give the number, Mike?
Over 270 certified trained instructors.
270. Holy it wasn't that long ago that it was 100, but maybe it was longer than I'm thinking. But I mean, it seems to be exploding now. So
well, we have the certified instructor course once a month. So yeah, we're stacking them up. The interest is good. I've got a lot of great people, sheepdogs and protectors that want to help teach other people how to be empowered to save themselves and the people around them. So we have got a team of truly amazing and honorable professionals around the world teaching the program now.
Yeah, it's been, but here's the thing: it's exploding now. But this isn't like you just started. You created the A.L.I.V.E program in 2013. Was it? Am I right?
Yeah, 2013
Okay.
is when I made the decision I wanted to start teaching people how to survive an active shooter, because I was so frustrated watching good people die at the hands of bad people simply because they didn't know what to do. And I grew up in this world, so I knew what to do. And it was like watching a horror film and everybody's walking towards the door and we know the guy with a hatchet and is on the other side. And you're saying, no, don't go through that door. Well, I couldn't stand it anymore. So I'm teaching people how to recognize the door, know what the threat is, avoid it, and be prepared if you do open the door.
Right. Yeah. And that's, boy, and I think that's the hard, as I understand, that's sometimes the hard part for people, because I don't want to be involved, or I don't want this to maybe hurt, or I'm not sure what it is, but it's that last part of, like, you may not have a choice, because as we know, it's like they're not there to take your wallet or talk. They're there to kill you. And so, like, what are you willing to do to survive? And I think you do a great job of getting that across in instructors, and that comes from the teaching, right?
Thank you. And I think it's worth mentioning that you are one of my certified instructors, and you do a great job. And I've seen the presentations you've done and you've posted, and they were very well received. So thank you for being part of this this movement, as we call it.
Absolutely. And it's when it feels good that it's growing too. So that's great. And we can get into more of that later. But also, I do want to mention, not for nothing, is that you're also the owner, and I'm not sure your titles, owner, president, CEO, top dog at MPS Security, which offers other services.
Yeah, well, for background, my father, after military and law enforcement, started our company in 1967, and I was born way after that. Just kidding, a year after that. So I literally grew up as in the corporate private investigations and security and executive protection world my whole life. He passed in 97 and I took over. I'm technically the CEO. I hired an amazing president, Mike Spears, who's a much better businessman than I am. So now that he's involved, we're growing even faster. But we do executive protection all over the country. And we do have a uniform division just here in our small little Southern California area. But yeah, we do EP, uniform security, and private investigation work all over the country.
Right. Yeah. And so again, while there's attention coming now, there's no overnight success, unless it's 10 years in the making. Right. And so that's about where you are, a little bit past that with A.L.I.V.E, but it's not like, it's none of this is new. You've been doing it for a long time, and it's fantastic because you're still out there, and it's always innovative too. Like, or it's what's next, because you start somewhere, and then it's, well, what about this? Well, what about this? and you're not afraid, you know, from my perspective, and I think probably anybody talks to you, you're not the type of person to sit on their laurels and, well, it's going okay, so I might let's just let's just do that. It's always what's next, or how, or what's better.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm one of those guys that's not happy uh being bored. And if I can't continue to grow or create new things, I start to vibrate. Like I'm not a happy guy unless I'm making things happen. And luckily for me, because I'm not necessarily the sharpest tool in the shed, I surround myself with brilliant people. My my strength is knowing my weaknesses and knowing how to find people that can fill those weaknesses with their strengths.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it seems like that's going well. And I'll tell you. And I was about to get into this. I kind of mentioned it before, but I remember. I think it was GSX in Orlando or something, or Atlanta, and you and I shared a breakfast. It kind of ended, we didn't plan on it, whatever
Yep.
that is.
Yep.
Didn't plan on that, and we got to sit there, and I got to sit and listen to you talk. I mean, it was a conversation, but I was hopefully I was doing more listening than than talking in that case, and I know I came away better as a business person, as a as a protector, as an instructor, and and just having conversations with you always, I feel better coming out of it. So I appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you.
And for anybody who's listening, if you get the chance to Ben Mike's here, if you can get him to stand still, then you've done, you're doing something right. So good on you. Um, so that's some background and things like that, and about MPS, about A.L.I.V.E. So we were talking a little bit before we started recording about what's coming up in 2024 for you, for A.L.I.V.E, MPS. But you mentioned that A.L.I.V.E is growing, and there's also some social media action that's going to be coming up in the in the next few months, I believe. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, I'm like I said, I'm always looking for something new. And A.L.I.V.E is 10 years old. It's going very, very well. I have over 270 instructors in 6 countries. I've got a great staff. So that is kind of self-sustaining. I can step back a little bit and I'm shifting gears a little bit. I mean, I still have my companies and stuff that I'm responsible for. But now that things are not on autopilot, but I have very capable people doing a lot of the heavy lifting, I'm starting to move in a direction of something that I want to do, and that is talk to people. Now, everybody's got a story, and I've learned this the hard way by finding out that everybody's got a story, and oftentimes the harder their lives have been, the more interesting the stories. And I will tell you, Craig, I've become, after being in this business for 34, 36, 38 years, whatever it is, since I was 16, I've gotten to know a lot of people. And I've gotten close with a lot of the icons in this industry. And I've been fortunate enough, whether it was alcohol induced or not, to have some very deep, intense, personal conversations with these people, and we've both gotten become vulnerable and like really dug down deep. And I think that there's a lot of stories that need to be shared with people who was like me 15 or 20 years ago and felt alone with the kind of shit we've done in our lives and the challenges we've had and the way we feel and the imposter syndrome or the insecurities or whatever. So I've started having these short conversations, 20-minute conversations that we're putting out to social media with people like, James Hamilton, Alan Baker, Joe LaSorsa, Christian West, and I've got several more scheduled. And then those are kind of like not interviews, but short snippets of what's to come, because pretty much most of these people, I've now set up a podcast studio upstairs, and we're going to start having some really interesting podcasts with people. And I'm going to ask some tough questions because I found out through these short conversations, these guys have made it and they are comfortable talking about their lives and their childhoods and their challenges. And to me, it makes me feel good because I know I'm not alone with the stuff I've dealt with, knowing that these people who I have mad respect for because of what they've accomplished are in the same damn boat, have the same damn insecurities, have the same challenges. And I want to hear their stories. And I think other people want to hear their stories. So I'm going to start. And, I did about 20 podcasts before COVID. and I was doing everything myself, and it was a lot of work, and COVID hit and I shut it down. And now I'm in a place where I've got a great production team that are going to take those podcasts and make something really entertaining and informative and fun to watch, rather than just watching two guys talk for an hour on Zoom or something. So I am really looking forward, and I've got some great sponsors. Alex and Frank Stewart, that own Premier Body Armor out of Gastonia, North Carolina. They're our initial launch sponsor. They have great body armor and bulletproof products. We're going to partner with them to make some backpacks and stuff for kids, and put the A.L.I.V.E name on them. So this is really, really exciting. So right now I'm just building a list of great guests, and I've got a ton of them on the list already that I'm super excited, and sponsors. I'm going to get sponsors, and just like, any other, podcast, I'm going to have sponsors to help pay for some of this stuff. So right now that's what I'm focused on, as more of kind of a passion project. This is more for me and the people that I'm going to be interviewing, but I think it's going to benefit the watchers and listeners as well.
For sure. And the one thing that you said, I mean, it was all great, but what you said that stuck out was you believe other people want to hear these stories. And while that is true, I think it's more than that. More people need to hear those stories, right? Um, I know you shared some of your past within the training to become an A.L.I.V.E instructor, right? Or just within the recorded class that you had online. That was pretty powerful. And listening to Jared Van Dries, his story that he did with Natasha Ryan, like, wow,
Wow.
right? Like, wow.
Yeah.
And so there is, and it's gratifying to me because uh, with the mixer and the driving kind of the driving force behind the mixer is to get people to talk. Like, let's get them in a room and give them some alcohol, but let's get them in a room and get them talking, so that they can borrow business idea, like, hey, this is what Mike's doing, maybe how do I put that into mine, right? I feel so, I feel lucky that I get to talk to guys like you, and here's the thing, I get to text you, hey Mike, if I got something, I get to text Joe or Christian or any of our leaders in this industry, and James Hamilton, man, what a smart guy, right? I mean,
Oh,
on top of his accomplishments and the things that
brilliant.
he's done, he's just
Brilliant.
such a great guy to talk to. Engaging, he's got that whole Southern thing going, like he's great. And so when you said like want to hear him, like, boy, they need to, and especially with an industry full of type A's, alphas, it's the where you're gonna what do I know, but it's like where you're gonna succeed. It's just a passion project for you, and that's gonna resonate. And I think that's, like you said, you dig down into those conversations, and that's where the success is going to come from. It's like whatever that's just below the surface that you might not even know is there, but whatever's right below the surface gets to come out, and then that sets you off.
Yep. Yeah. I'm super excited about this project. I can't wait. I know how much I am going to learn and benefit personally from these discussions.
Yeah.
And now you just said something that I wanted to comment on. Unfortunately, my father passed at 57 years old when I was like 29 or something. And so I had a mentor, but he was not a mentor in the fact of, come here, let me show you how the world works. I had to kind of learn through his example. And he was a pretty tough guy. Like, I learned some things of what not to do when I had children. But he helped make me the man I am today. So I love him for it. But mentoring, I've only had a couple of mentors my whole life for small parts of my life. Anytime I can put out anything, and some guys can say you're completely full of it, and I'm not going to listen, and that's okay. Anytime I can share anything that helps anybody in any way by sharing my mistakes, and I'm a hard-headed guy. I've learned. I didn't grow up wise where I learned from other people's mistakes. I had to make them on my own, even though they told me not to do them, because that's kind of a hard-headed thing.
Right. Yeah.
But any mistakes I've made, any challenges I've overcome, and any lessons I've learned, I love the idea of somebody benefiting from that and being able to avoid making those mistakes themselves. That makes it worthwhile to me. So that's something I'm really looking forward to doing. And I'm going to be talking to guys that I would consider mentors, that I will be learning from, because they have got an entire lifetime of knowledge and experiences that I don't have. Imagine, hopefully, now that I'm older and old enough, now I can learn from other people's mistakes and other people's examples much better. So this is something that I'm just so looking forward to doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great. And like you said, the people that you're having on, you know, yeah, they're, you know, like leaders in the industry, or the influence somewhere along the lines, or or maybe you've never heard of them. They're, you know, they're a team leader for a detail that's just you don't hear, but man, they're crushing it. And I think that's a there's a point in your life, like you're saying, like, you know, I had to run through the wall on my own, even though plenty told me people told me to run around it, you know, or to go over it even.
Yeah.
But no, I had to bury my head, and I had to go through it. So um, that's something that, again, I can equate everything to networking, because that's how I'm centrally focused on, you know, the conversations that happen, uh, to sit and listen. And one of the things that is overlooked, I believe, in networking by a lot of people is there's the learning capability. You know, taught us the Christian grew up speaking a different language, grew up in another country, um, and all the Danish and European things that that don't translate to North America, and certainly not to the United States,
And
or they do.
The
Mhm,
Danish culture is very, very different than American culture,
mhm.
that I have found because I spend so much time with Christian,
Yeah,
and it is fascinating,
sure.
fascinating the differences.
Yeah, and to sit and listen to, so that's when we have conversations about the mixer, about whatever, to hear how he thinks about it is like, oh, okay, like never even crossed my mind, right, about any number of things, right? But also too, to sit and talk about, you know, talk to Joe LaSorsa about a business. Like, here's how we do things. Here's whatever it is. It's like there, it came up as, you know, his old man started a training company, started, you know, operationally, retired Secret Service. So what was his experience? Excuse me. What was his experience like? He's also Italian. So he just the other day he posted something about going to Nona's house, you know, and so, you know, it's all different faith, different upbringing, different ethnicity, different, you know, job, background, education, and on and on and on, that are in a room all at one time. It's
Yeah.
like when you have like 60 people, 100 people at one of the mixers, or at a, you know, at a GSX event. It's like, holy cow, look at all these people that potentially I could benefit from, and hopefully they can benefit from having a conversation with me, whether it's about me or not, but just maybe I can say something that will spawn a thought, an idea, a I'm supportive, whatever the case may be. Having those, that's what pushes the mixers. It's like, what can, if we get people in the same room, what can they walk out with? And
Oh,
that's what I get excited
hey,
about.
let me tell you, regarding the mixer, your mixer in Dallas is where I met Alex Stewart from Premier Body Armor.
Oh, awesome.
And then I met Frank at 2 months later at the GSX, or is it vice versa? Anyway, we had
Yeah.
GSX and IPSB within a couple of months in Dallas, right? I
Mhm.
met them at your mixer, and we now have a budding relationship, friendship, professional partnership that is going to be amazing for us and everybody else. So these mixers are fantastic. I love your mixers. That's why I agreed to sponsor. It's a good thing. I always have fun. And by the way, I like the idea of a bunch of alphas in this EP industry being forced into a room together, whether it's voluntary or somebody drags them there, and making them socialize, because so many of our super stud alphas are off, to the corner being wallflowers, not wanting to talk because they're afraid of how they'll be judged. And those are the guys I target. And I will walk up and I'll throw my hand out there and I'll say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Mike Julian." And I ask him questions, and I I love watching them go from being rigid to being relaxed, because I'm asking them about them, and everybody likes to share about themselves. And once they do, they're more comfortable talking. And then now I'm like, okay, great. After 5 minutes, hey, by the way, I want you to meet somebody. And then I drag them over, I introduce them, and I take, now they're relaxed, they're having a good time, they're talking to people, they're networking. Listen, the networking piece, I go to conferences all the time. I speak at them frequently, but not always. And when I don't, I may go to the classes, I may not, but the networking I always participate in, because we, at least me, my business model, we're only as good as our network. And if any client comes to me and asks me for anything, I know how to do a few things really well, but there's all this other stuff that I don't know anything about. They say, hey, look, I like you, I like your company, can you do this for me? My answer is never no, because if I don't know how to do it, because of my network, nationally, internationally, I will always know a master, an expert, a true professional that can deliver that service. So the client benefits from getting the best service. The person I subcontract benefits from providing that service and getting paid for it. And I benefit by being able to find that right person. And we get paid, they get paid, the client gets the best service. I'm telling you, networking is the number one benefit to any association, organization, mixer, or conference. And if you're standing against the wall rigid and not introducing yourself because you're too insecure and don't want to be judged, or you don't have enough confidence to say, hi, I'm so and so, and this is what I do, well, I'm going to force them into being comfortable with sharing who they are and what they do, because I might need them, this guy might need them, or they may need someone I introduce them to. So networking, what you're doing with your mixers is honestly one of the most important thing that anyone in our industry can be involved in.
Well, those are very, very kind words. I appreciate it, but very, very true words as far as what comes out of it, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know the conversations that are going to take place. You don't know who you're going to meet. And you just said it. Like, now that I'm talking to this person, hey, from what you said, let me introduce you to this person over here. This guy, this girl, I was just talking to them and they said X. And you bring them over. And a lot of times you can either stay there or, like, you guys have something to talk about, I'll be back around. And you just let them go. And now you're the matchmaker. And that's one of the things I love being able to do is putting people together. And I like how you put it, because here's what I see when I walk into a room. People off into the corner and they got their phone up and they're so busy. They can't get away from their phone. I'm like, you're liars. You're all liars because you're just not engaging. And so I will make sure, like you said, I will go to those people that are standing by themselves. Now, let me say this for anybody who's listening, is that's a tactic that I use. If somebody is standing by themselves, they need somebody to talk to, and so do you,
Yep.
because you're by yourself, right, at that point. So go find those people. That's great. And Mike, my next question was, like, why did you decide to sponsor the mixer? But you did more than answer that, and that was a great promo. So I appreciate it. That was awesome. What else? I mean, is there anything else I know we talked a little bit, like I said, off camera, but is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to get out into the air?
Just I just feel really fortunate to be in this industry. I mean, I grew up in it. I don't know if I would know how to do anything else if I wasn't doing it, investigations, EP, and so forth. Um, I really appreciate the relationships that I have built over the last 30 plus years in these industries, and the people that I have that I have learned from, whether they were trying to teach me or not. I learned from them, and so I appreciate and respect them. And so these mixers, listen, IPSB, there are many people that I know in this industry that I only get to see once a year at IPSB. So I'm always looking forward to any of these mixers, because I get to see people that I only talk to on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or email or something. So
Mm-hmm.
the only thing I think I've said enough about me. I would just encourage anybody that sees this to make it to the mixers and make it to IPSB, and put yourself out there, and make it a goal to walk up and introduce yourself to, and have your cards, always have your business cards, walk up and introduce yourself to at least 5 people, no matter how uncomfortable you are. Fake it till you make it. Be an actor. Pretend you're super confident and super comfortable, and you're the, you know, you're the shining star in the room, and go up and meet people, because every time you do it, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And pretty soon you will have amassed a network of professionals that you're unstoppable. So that's it for me. I'm just looking forward to being there and seeing everybody.
Awesome. Yeah. And kind of along that is, you know, you'll find success in networking, you know, as you go, right, over time. And I just heard, I think I heard Mike Tyson say it. I didn't see him say it, but it was like, confidence breeds success and success breeds confidence. And so kind of, you know, just keep doing it. Right. And you mentioned imposter syndrome and all this other stuff that's so relatable. If you allow yourself to say, okay, that's me. Right. I don't, you know, I'm not there. So it's a room full of people that honestly, if you're there, chances are you're willing to help somebody else. If you're there, you may
Yep.
need something, but but chances are you're willing to help somebody out. Anyway, Mike, what before we wrap up here, and I want you to stay on after we end the interview, the recording. Where do people go to find more about A.L.I.V.E and MPS and you?
Well, most people probably know that I'm all over social media. So it's
Yeah.
always easy to touch base with me and find out what I'm doing today and tomorrow. But so A.L.I.V.E, the website is activeshootersurvivaltraining.com. My EP company is security-mps.com, and the private investigation company is investigations-NBI for National Business Investigations.com. So yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty easy to find. Google me if you want to get in touch with me. And I listen, one of the most valuable things you can give another person is your time. And I sit at a desk most of the time, and so I actually like the idea of scheduling time to talk to people. It's a break from the BS and stress of my life and running my businesses and stuff. So I like talking to people. So I hope that anybody that sees this, when they see me at the mixer, will walk up to me and introduce themselves if I have not yet met them, because I love spending time with people and hearing their stories. So that's, you know, that's my message. Come up and introduce yourself, and let's become friends, because we may benefit each other professionally and or personally as human beings. And this life is a journey, man. You got to make it, you got to make it good. I have worked so many wrongful death investigations where someone woke up in the morning, started their day, and by noon they were dead, and they had no idea that was going to happen. And a lot of people don't live their lives like it could be over tomorrow. That is something I'm still trying to embrace, because I'm a control freak and I'm always looking forward and trying to make things happen. But
Mhm.
man, you have got to stop and smell the roses, because it could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. Well, Mike, thanks for so much for your time. I appreciate you. You know, like you said, you know, I always appreciate our conversations, whether they are virtual or they are in person. And folks, for those of you who listen, go up and say hi. Mike is one of the most welcoming guys when you meet him. He's a big guy. He's yoked, but and he may look intimidating, and he can be. But he's very, very nice when you come up and you put your hand out and say, "Hey, let's be friends." And Mike's a good guy to have as a friend. So, Mike, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you.
You betcha.
Um, Folks, as a reminder, Thursday, Las Vegas, Thursday, April 11th, 6 to 10 p.m. at SG Bar. There'll be a link somewhere on this post. When you see it, go get yourself registered. We would love to have you. Mike would love to meet you. I would love to meet you. That's what we do. And that's for now. That's all I got. Talk to you real soon.